Our Parliament going to decide today whether President Ramaphosa should be taken to task for the saga surrounding Phala Phala. The Section 89 panel that investigated the matter found that the President may have violated his oath of office. Now, for an impeachment process to be taken to the next level, more than half of the 400 MPs in the National Assembly will have to vote in favour of the panel's report. So it all comes down to numbers in the end. But political analyst Professor Sipho Seepe joining us now. And let's talk about voting with your conscience, Prof. Can you do it when your bosses are watching how you vote? Do you really think this is the right way to go about it? Good morning.
Well, the most obvious issue is that this has nothing to do with the opposition. The opposition will obviously be comfortable in voting openly and also in a secret ballot. The issue has more to do with the ANC. And the ANC has been given an instruction, almost a line of march. And that line of march carries with it a possibility of reprisals. So members of the ANC in the past have been uncomfortable with voting openly. They wanted to vote with their conscience without that being known to other people. So you could have a problem with that if people are driven by conviction, it should not matter whether it is through open or secret ballot. But given the punitive nature of organizations and parties, and the ANC chairperson has almost suggested that those who are not going to toe the line, they'll be dealt with. And this is one thing that the ANC is failing to explain. At the same time, if you listen to the former president, Thabo Mbeki, he had been very clear that you also have an instruction from the Constitution that the members of Parliament are representative of the people, and therefore they should vote in the interest of the people and the Republic as opposed to the party. So what you are faced here is what appears to be a conflict that should not really arise between the party interest and the country and the interests of the people, because you have a party that has always claimed to be a leader of society, and if it is a leader of society, it will be forgiven. But it is this threat of punishment that makes others to want to argue that it should be on the secret ballot. And the opposition is calling for that precisely because they are aware of what will happen to members of the ANC should they not toe the line.
There's 2 points. One observation of mine is this sounds a lot like a fear and intimidation tactic of the ANC on its own members of parliament. The other argument, I heard a fascinating debate on radio yesterday driving home, was that the ANC members who may want to vote in favour of action being taken against the president won't do it because they simply morally cannot vote along with the opposition in parliament. What would you make of both of those comments, Prof?
Well, that is actually nonsense, because the members of the ANC have voted together the opposition on a number of issues, including that of the advocate Mkhwebane. What you have here is more party interest. So it is not that they cannot vote with the opposition. They vote with the opposition when it is expedient. What you also have, probably a different argument that members of the ANC have said, is that we do not want to vote with the opposition when it comes to voting out our leader. So that is an argument that says we'd rather not outsource the responsibility of removing our leader to other people. We would like to do it ourselves. And they've actually done that before. But we also must factor in that there are also personal ambitions that are at play here. And again, the issue of fear is something that members of the ANC seem to be concerned about. But in doing so, they are undermining the constitutional injunction that when you are there, you must be able to exercise your oversight responsibility and be guided by your conscience. But what we know, the very insistence and the fact that you're talking about it is precisely indicative of a problem that exists, that there are times when the people's conscience do not converge or coincide with the party interest.
Let me ask you this in closing, Prof, and I understand I'm starting to skirt the idea of speculation here, and I want to try and avoid it if I can, but for someone who has their ear to the ground and we look at everything holistically in the build-up to the ANC conference, if this ballot, in your opinion, was to be held in secret, which way do you think it would go, knowing everything we know about the ANC and its infighting?
If it is held in secret ballot, it is likely to pass. But you must also understand that there is also an argument that has been presented by people like Dr. Mzeli Mkhize to say if the president has nothing to hide and he's innocent, the process will actually come out and vindicate him. So the fact that we are dealing with this is because there is a fear that we have a president with something to hide. Remember, the parliament has triggered this process and has come up with a panel to look at whether there's sufficient evidence to suggest that the impeachment process should be started. And they've come up with that determination. It does not mean that the president is already guilty. It simply says that the process starts, and if he's innocent, then he'll come out innocent. But all the machinations indicate that the president has something to hide, something that the former president and deputy president of the ANC, Kgalema Motlanthe, says this conduct by President Ramaphosa suggests that there's something to hide. So for a man who claims to be clean, a man who claims to be comfortable with transparency, his behavior suggests otherwise.